This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. Indonesia has one of the world's fastest growing economies, expanding at a rate of 6% this year. Technology is helping fuel that growth and producing a new generation of young entrepreneurs. One of these technopreneurs is Nadiem Mukarram. He graduated from the Harvard Business School in Boston, Massachusetts. He returned home and launched Gojek. This service connects motorcycle taxis, called ojeks, with people who need a ride or a delivery. Gojek uses online maps, mobile phones, and a call center. The aim is to improve Jakarta's disorganized motorcycle taxi system. Nadiem Mukarram says everything depends on a business plan. I firmly believe that business and just straight up rational business growth, profitable business growth, and social impact are not mutually exclusive. Gojek recently won $10,000 in a competition through the American State Department's Global Entrepreneurship Program. Indonesia is one of 5 countries in this program, which links startup businesses with investors. Many startups are internet-based services. Indonesia already has more than 700 startups online, and new ones are launched every week. Half of Indonesians still live on less than $2 a day. But Indonesia has a young population interested in trying new technology. Right now, about 45 million Indonesians, or only about 1 in 5, use the internet. But about half of those people use mobile devices to go online, and those numbers are only growing. Some experts say the conditions for local entrepreneurs are the best in the world. Still, the World Bank currently ranks Indonesia 121st out of 183 economies in ease of doing business. The biggest barrier to entrepreneurs is a lack of financing. Also, economists say Indonesia needs more entrepreneurs. They now make up less than 1% of the workforce. The rate is over 7% in nearby Singapore and almost 12% in the United States. Indonesia's biggest bank, Bank Mandiri, expects to increase loans by as much as 25% this year. Demand is growing for credit, for small businesses, and for consumers. Leonard Theobrata helped start Whiteboard Journal. This online publication offers a place for young designers to show their products. He says Indonesia has a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs willing to take a risk. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. Recently, the United States Supreme Court decided a case on the property rights of inventors. The question was whether a business method is enough of an invention to receive a patent. Patents are a form of intellectual property. They give legal protections to individuals and companies against the copying of their inventions. Bernard Bilski and Rand Warsaw wanted to patent a method to let traders protect against the risk of price changes in energy markets. The United States Patent and Trademark Office said no. So the inventors went to court. Again, they were told no. Finally, the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. In June, all 9 justices said no. But they only said no to a patent in this case. Patent lawyer Meredith Martin Addy in Chicago explains that the court ruled narrowly. She said the Supreme Court held that there is no categorical rule denying patent protection for business method patents. When patent laws were first developed, most patents were for machines. But since the late 1990s, inventors of business methods and processes have increasingly sought patent protection. Bernard Bilski and Rand Warsaw brought a lawsuit against the Patent and Trademark Office. Technology companies, especially software makers, watched the case closely. They were concerned that the Supreme Court would require a test of some kind that could limit what can be patented. In its ruling, the court decided against the patent only because the idea was too abstract. Law professor Michael Moyer of Boston University gives a famous example from physics. It involves the relationship of energy, mass, and the speed of light, written as the letter C. He said, the Supreme Court has said, for example, if Albert Einstein determined that E equals mc squared, which he did, he never would have been able to get a patent on that. That's too abstract. In the Bilski case, the court said patent examiners could consider what is known as the machine or transformation test. This is the idea that a patent should be given to a machine or something that creates a material change, like a chemical process. But a majority of justices said patent examiners must also protect innovation. Patent lawyer Meredith Martin Addy says no one wants to suppress creativity. Now, more cases will be needed to define the legal limits of business method patents. Such patents already exist. In March, for example, after re-examination, Amazon.com received a patent for its one-click ordering process. And that's the VOA Special English Economics Report.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. The Arab Spring in the Middle East and North Africa has raised hopes and dreams. But can it raise money to invest in a better future? How to respond to the Arab uprisings was a major question for world leaders at the Group of 8 meeting in France in late May. Earlier, the head of the World Bank said international support can speed progress, but only if coupled with real reform. President Obama discussed American development plans in his Middle East policy speech on May 19th. He said, the goal must be a model in which protectionism gives way to openness. The reins of commerce pass from the few to the many, and the economy generates jobs for the young. America's support for democracy will therefore be based on ensuring financial stability, promoting reform, and integrating competitive markets with each other and the global economy. And we are going to start with Tunisia and Egypt. Democracy protests in those two countries forced out their presidents early this year. The World Bank will offer Egypt $4.5 billion in loans over the next 2 years. The money would be part of a plan with the International Monetary Fund to help control Egypt's budget deficit. The goal is to improve the country's credit rating in order to ease the concerns of investors and reduce borrowing costs. About $2 billion in loans would be linked to progress in government reforms. The World Bank also promised at least $1 billion for Tunisia. 20 years ago, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development was created to help former communist countries after the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, that bank could invest up to $3.5 billion in the Middle East and North Africa. About 400 million people live in those two areas. A majority are under the age of 30. The anger of the many educated but unemployed young people has been a driving force in the Arab Spring movement. Oil is the main export for many of the countries. Yet a recent World Bank study showed that oil has not done much to raise wages. Income growth continues to fall behind East Asia and South America. Private investment has been limited largely to the oil industry. There are some efforts to change that. In March, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton promised $2 billion through a government agency known as OPIC, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. The economic situation in Italy is worrying investors and may have cost its prime minister his job. Like Greece, Italy is facing pressure to make unpopular cuts in government spending. Silvio Berlusconi sought to enact measures meant to satisfy his country's creditors. On early November 8th, Mr. Berlusconi won a budget vote in Italy's lower house of parliament. But the prime minister lost something else. A majority of lawmakers in the lower house refused to vote. It appeared Mr. Berlusconi had lost their support. He announced that he would resign after Parliament passed budget-cutting measures. Italian government debt is about 120% the size of the country's economy. That is second only to Greece in Europe. Greece, Ireland, and Portugal have all required rescue loans to help them pay creditors. But unlike those nations, Italy has the third largest economy using the euro, and it is among the 10 largest economies in the world. On November 7th, European finance ministers met in Brussels to discuss the deepening debt crisis among nations using the euro. European Union Economic and Monetary Affairs Commissioner Olli Rehn said Italy needed to enact reforms. It is essential now that Italy will stick to its fiscal targets, ensure their implementation, and intensify the structural reforms that can boost growth and job creation. Italy recently faced an increase in borrowing costs that topped 7%. Unlike Greece, Italy's budget deficit is not out of control. Of greatest concern, however, is Italy's lack of growth and job creation. Financial officials and market watchers are also concerned that Italy's debt problems may be too big to solve for the 17 nations using the euro. European leaders have yet to agree on the size and conditions of a rescue fund or plan. In Brussels, Dutch Finance Minister Jan Kees de Jager said the rescue fund needed to be bigger. But he said budget reform of Euro nations was important too. We have to increase the capacity of the emergency fund. That's very important, but it's not the only thing. Economic reforms and budget cuts in countries currently under attack of the financial markets are at least as important than more money in the emergency fund. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Special English is VOA's daily source of news and information for people learning English. Go to voaspecialenglish.com for transcripts and MP3s of our stories and for the classroom, our e-learning platform.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. The month of June means one more big test for many students finishing college, a test of the job market. Wish them luck. Americans aged 20 to 24 faced an unemployment rate in May of 14.7%. That was 5 percentage points higher than the national rate. The National Association of Colleges and Employers says about 1/4 of those who applied for a job have found one. The organization says that is up a little from last year. But the number is down sharply from 2007, the year before the financial crash. Josh Safran graduated from American University in Washington with a business degree. He is still looking for a job. He said, once you get noticed by a company, it gets a lot easier, but it's so hard to get noticed because there's so many people looking for so few jobs. One way to get noticed is through an internship program, says Reuben Smith Vaughn, another graduate of American University. Internships may offer little or no money. Some students even pay for them. But the National Association of Colleges and Employers says 92% of the employers it asked had plans to hire interns this year. The Occupational Outlook Handbook, published by the Labor Department, offers job market predictions through 2018. The highest growth is expected in biomedical engineering. 22-year-old Sarah Kramer just got her degree in biomedical engineering from Columbia University in New York. She found a job with a major consulting company in Washington. But her search was not easy. She said, I started in August before my senior year, and I set up appointments with career services. I applied to about 150 jobs. I went on maybe 15 interviews. Ms. Kramer says many of her friends have not found jobs. Many have chosen to go to graduate school instead. But she has suggestions for students entering their final year of college who want a job when they graduate. She said, start early. Take advantage of your career services at your school as much as you can. And don't give up, and just keep applying to as many jobs as you can. Josh Safran says he may have to do what a growing number of recent college graduates are doing. He said, worst case scenario, if I don't find a job by the end of August, I move back with my parents. And that's the VOA Special English Economics Report.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. In 2009, Junior Achievement marked its 90th anniversary of educating young people about business and economics. The nonprofit organization is the largest of its kind. Jack Kozakowski is Executive Vice President. He says, "We are the oldest business and economic education organization in the world. We are now serving 9.2 million young people around the globe in 123 different countries." Programs begin in elementary school and continue through middle and high school. The education is based on the ideas of market-based economics and entrepreneurship. Junior Achievement began in 1919 in Springfield, Massachusetts. Two business leaders, Horace Moses and Theodore Vail, joined with Senator Murray Crane of Massachusetts to start the group. For more than 50 years, Junior Achievement programs operated through clubs that met after school. But in 1975, JA also began to teach business skills during the school day. Volunteers from the community teach about businesses, how they are organized, and how products are made and sold. The volunteers also teach about the American and world economies and about industry and trade. The Junior Achievement Company program teaches young people how entrepreneurship works. They learn about business by operating their own companies. Students develop a product and sell shares in their company. They use the money to buy the materials they need to make their product, which they then sell. Finally, they return the profits to the people who bought shares in the company. Chelsea Cruz joined a student-operated company 2 years ago. The Higher Grounds Cafe in West Hills, California, sells high-quality coffee. She says her experience has given her valuable training that will help her for a lifetime. Junior Achievement says 385,000 volunteers support its programs around the world. In the United States alone, there are nearly 23,000 places that hold Junior Achievement events. Junior Achievement Incorporated and Junior Achievement International combined their operations in 2004. They formed Junior Achievement Worldwide. Its headquarters are in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And that's the VOA Special English Economics Report.